Okay. Welcome, everyone. I don't know if George wants to start, and then I'll pick up when we get back to the rules and let him go over some of the logistics.
Kathy, I'm comfortable. If you're comfortable, you go ahead and do it all. And just if you have any questions, please ask. Or would you rather? What do you want to do?
It doesn't matter. That's fine.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and I'll interject if I think it's necessary, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So we'll start off with the first slide. It's just going through the agenda and kind of what will be the different slides that we'll be looking at tonight. You can go to the next slide. I don't think I can do that. Okay, so you'll see the current event. Nothing has changed from previous years. We have the advanced giant slalom, the unified partners, intermediate giant slalom, and the slalom with the unified partners, novice, GS, and slalom advanced. And then we have the advanced Super G unified, and the intermediate Super G unified, Super glide, and we're actually doing a snowboarding demo this year, and it's just a demo to get a little interest, to see really if there's interest in the sport, and to introduce it and have it out there for some of the athletes to see if they might be interested, or if they know another athlete that snowboards that's never had the opportunity. So we're going to be doing that as a demo on Monday afternoon.
Hey, Kathy, it's George. I just want everybody to know I don't think there's been a whole lot of interest yet, so if you guys could spread the word and see if anybody in your county is interested in trying it, that would be great. I think it's a fun sport. I think there'd be a lot of interest, but we got to get the word out.
Yeah, and I also think that when some of the athletes see it there on Monday, that will help as well. And that will be at the top of, I forget what trail that's called. Anyway, it will be Monday. Okay, so we go to the next slide.
Yeah, I believe it's at the top of Snow Park, if I remember correctly.
There you go. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we go to the schedule. On Monday, opening ceremony starts at 11 o'clock at Whitetail Ski Resort. It will be the same as we've had last year and the year before. Then they plan on lunch for the intermediate and the advanced skiers at different times. I'm not sure how that's going to work, knowing the athletes, but we will.
Hey, Mike. That's George again. Hey, Mike. Is the ceremony going to be 30 minutes?
That is the plan. Is that Anna has it timed out as right now.
Okay.
Also, just for folks, so that folks are aware, because everybody's typically used to having Matt Otwell, who's our director of Alpine, host this. And Matt's had a family situation, is unable to join us. So a big thank you to Kathy Cowdery, who is a key member of the Alpine team, who's stepping in to cover the session tonight. So if you're wondering why you aren't hearing Matt, he wanted to be here, but at the last minute was not able to join us. So.
Yeah, so you're stuck with me instead.
No, we're thrilled to have you, Kathy. You're doing a great job. So thank you for pinch hitting on very short notice.
No worries. Well, and many of the coaches have met me before, either in coaches training or in athlete training or somewhere along on one of the courses. So that's always a good thing as well. So on this slide, you're going to see the schedule, and I don't need to read it for you. It lists when the races are, and then you'll see the snowboard demo is at 2:30. The coaches meeting in the staging tent is going to be at 4:30 time tentative, and the dance is at 7, and the theme is Sports Fanatics. I do not know where the dance is. Where will the dance be held this year?
Back at the hotel. We're staying at the same hotel, the Clarion, which is connected to Hager Hall. So that's where dinner and the dance will be. I think one thing to mention about the opening ceremony is that this year, instead of standing on the patio, there are going to be chairs set up. I'm not sure there'll be enough chairs for every single athlete and coach, but they're going to set up as many chairs as they can. So it'll still be in the same location that it was last year, but there will be chairs for delegations to sit.
Excellent. And then on Tuesday, the competition starts again at 10 in the morning with the novice, going to 10:30 with the intermediate, 11 o'clock the advanced, and then the 11:30 the glide. And hopefully we can wrap up by lunchtime on Tuesday for the competition.
Hey, Kathy, one thing for everybody to be aware of, and I think Tuesday demonstrates it the best, the 10 a.m. start time for the novice does give you time to inspect the course. Under Alpine rules, you have time to inspect the course. And so you can go up and check it out with your athletes. And I'm pretty sure, let's see, the first 1:30 on Monday is the first competition. So, again, you would have time after ceremony to go out and inspect the course.
Yeah, absolutely. That should give everyone plenty of time to get your athletes ready and to get out on the hill. I think the mountain should open at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays. That gives you a good half hour more before you have to report to staging. And on Monday you have right after opening ceremonies. Okay, then we go to the next slide, which I will let George speak to about the base area map.
Oh, okay. I think the biggest change this year is the location of the control center. If in past years, the control center has been in what Whitetail referred to as down under, which was underneath the Starbucks. They've remodeled that area, and it's no longer available to us. So we are in the building on the slope side of the rental building. So where you normally pick up rental skis, there's one more building on slope side. It's a huge building. It's great location. So the control center will be there. Volunteer registration will be there. And it's a location for your overnight ski storage. We'll have the trash cans as we did last year. And you can store your skis in there on Monday night and have them available Tuesday morning to you. Other than that, I'm not sure that anything has changed. The family hospitality area is on the second level. Opening ceremonies on the patio. Awards are on the patio. There will be that small parking lot off to the far right on this map. There's a small parking lot next to the building, the office building and the ticket sales building. That will be restricted parking. It's just going to be for vehicles with a permit. Mike, do we need to, if they have a vehicle with a handicap license plate, do they need a permit as well?
No, that's the, if they have a handicap tag or the hanging permit or whatever, they can use one of the handicapped spots that are there. That doesn't give them, it's not every spot in that lot, but they can use one of the handicapped spots. Beyond that, the only other people who can park up there other than Whitetail personnel are people with parking passes, and cars will likely be towed. It's been an issue in the past. So there's a limited number of passes that we have that's mostly for equipment issues with the Winter Games folks having to take equipment up there, or the dog sleds and so on down the line. So please do not try to park up there.
Parking is not going to be bad on Monday or Tuesday. It's really not crowded. On weekends, you may have seen that they reserve the closest parking lot for valet parking, but it's not the case during the week. So the parking lot straight out in front of the lodge, you can usually get in. So it's really not a long walk at all. Mike, any other issues on that? I think that's pretty much it. Nothing's changed since last year. It will be the meals will be the same as we have had on the weekends, and that is you will be given a meal ticket, and you can go into the cafeteria and choose from the options that are listed on the meal ticket.
Right.
Can you think of anything else? I think that's pretty much it.
No, the only other thing I can think of, and we'll cover this in more detail with the heads of delegations, but since we have the coaches here, they are offering the same rate that we pay for lift tickets and ski rentals to families, and they can purchase them right at the regular ticket windows, which are right down here. That would be the only other thing to point out on the map, I think.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Okay, so next we come to the race locations. The Glide and Super Glide is in the same location down by the Children's Center on Velvet. So it's the far left on the map. Then you'll see the Novice, which is on Velvet. It's right next to the chairlift. It is in the same place that it was for time trials, so it's the same location. If we move to the right, we'll see the Intermediate, which is on Stalker. However, it has moved from the top of the hill down to the bottom. This allows...
Yeah, Kathy, I think that's an error. I think the initial intention was to have everything on Stalker, but since we had the top of, I forget the name of that, but we were where we were for the time trials, just
Right.
off of the lift, that's where we're going to be for competition.
Well, I thought that's where they were doing snowboarding. It's gonna... Okay.
Okay, we'll double check that and get back to everybody. We'll email that out with the slides, but I'm pretty sure that we specified to them that we needed the same terrain for both time trials and competition. So we'll double check that, but I believe it's going to be in the same location as the time trials.
Sorry, don't mean to add to the confusion or potential, but Matt confirmed with me on Sunday that we will be using Stalker.
We will be using Stalker, okay.
Correct.
I apologize.
The snowboarding will be up where the time trials were, but we will be using Stalker for Intermediate.
Okay. My mistake. I apologize.
No worries. I believe it was because that way it allows more people to view the games, the competition, to enjoy the athletes skiing. So hopefully we can get a few more spectators if it's moving it down a little bit on the terrain there.
It's
you go to
a lot closer, and it's much more walkable for spectators.
Mm-hmm. Then if you go to the right, the Super G is going to be on Sidewinder, and that's where it has been. That's a great long course for the Super G. It's green, but it allows the athletes to pick up some good speed. And then the Advanced will be over on Home Run, and that's the same location where it has been there. They take the high-speed quad up and then go to the skiers left and Home Run. So I think everything else is in the same location. Intermediate is down lower on off the same chairlift that it has been. Okay, next slide. And then we come to the rules. This is not new to the coaches. We went over this in November, and we pretty much stress this all the time. I believe the first three that are listed here are really safety things for the athletes. They need to wear a helmet, they need to wear gloves and goggles, and they need to have their ski pole straps on correctly. And nobody asked for to wear sunglasses during the time trial, so all the athletes will be required to wear goggles for the games. And then we have the 2-minute rule. That is during the competition. If an athlete falls down or they miss a gate, they lose a ski, they have 2 minutes from the time the deviation to get up to go back around the gate, whatever. If they are not able to do it in the two-minute time, then they will be disqualified. And we can call the coach, or someone can help them if they have trouble getting a ski on or can't get up. They can finish, however, on one ski after they pass the last gate. Let's see. During competition, all athletes and coaches, you have to report to the staging area as posted on the division sheets, because we really like to have the athletes at the course on time. If anything, maybe a few minutes early, but definitely on time.
Kathy, just to emphasize to everybody, the staging tent will be in the same location that it was last year, which is just outside of the rental area near the ski check. That's where you report. You do not report to the slope, to the race course, and the times are posted on the schedule that we distribute. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we post the times that they need to be in staging, correct?
That is correct, and it'll say on the sheet staging time. So yes, that is the time you need to be physically in staging, not the time you're walking up to or thinking about going to staging. You need to be there at that time.
Okay, and then we come to a big one. Coaches are not permitted on the race course or in the starting area. That's once the athlete enters the race course area. And no coaching is allowed once the athlete has reached the staging on the race course, inside of that area or on the race course at all. And we will have 2 course officials, one at the top and one at the bottom, who are going to be especially attuned to this and pay attention. We've pretty much given warnings out in the past. At time trials, I know on the intermediate course, we did have to DQ one athlete. However, they passed. They were able to finish the second run, so they are able to participate. But our course official approached the person that had done the coaching, and they said yes, they had said those words, but they didn't know that they weren't allowed to. Well, you need to make sure that all of your coaches know that it is that we are going to enforce that. So it just needs to be very careful of the words they choose. We can say things like "Go John, go," or "Hooray," or "Yippee," or "Bravo," whatever. But we just have to be careful with the words that we use. If you are caught coaching a person, an athlete on the course, your first offense, you will be asked to leave the race course for the duration of that event. If you happens again, you're going to be ejected from the Winter Games. This has come down from Special Olympics, so we just, as course officials, are going to be more aware of it and enforce it this year. So just be aware, and please pass it on to the coaches, because we really don't want that to happen. We don't want to punish the athlete for a mistake that we might make. So let's just be aware of it and not let it happen. Then we have, let's see, number 9, slalom and giant slalom are 2-time runs, and it's the combined run. So all the athletes have to finish 2 runs completely. If they DQ on one of the 2 runs, then they just get a participation ribbon. And the Super G race is 2 runs, but the first run is a practice run, and the second is a competition run. The glide and super glide are each 1 run. Athletes who were disqualified during the time trials will compete against other athletes for participation ribbon only. And we already talked about the events they can be in. Okay, next slide, unless anyone has any questions.
Hey, Kathy, I just want to mention one thing real quick.
Okay.
For glide and super glide time trials, we've never been able to do those on the time trial weekend on the Sunday, and that's primarily because Whitetail has always indicated that it was too crowded.
Okay, right.
This past weekend when we did the time trials, they said okay. They said we could set a course. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to get that word out to everybody. So just giving everybody the heads up that hopefully next year we'll be able to do the glide and super glide the same as we do all other events, and that is do the time trials at the time trial weekend. So hopefully we'll be able to work that out.
Okay. On the next page, we have skiers using adaptive equipment. I believe there was only one at the time trials who was using it on the intermediate and advanced course. So I'm not going to go over those. They know how to use their equipment. Down for other accommodations, we try to do the best we can if we know there's something we need to do. I know that we at least have one deaf athlete, and we last year there was somebody who could sign. Otherwise, he reads lips very well. But if there's any issues, as long as we know ahead of time, we can accommodate those. Anything else you need to add here, George?
No, I think that's you pretty much covered it. Does anybody have any questions, or does anybody have an athlete that they might have some issues and they have a question about? Okay.
Hi. So this is Shelley. I was just wondering. So there is time trials for the glide, super glide on the week during games, like for glide, super glide, right?
Correct. I believe the schedule is to do the time trials on Monday afternoon for both, and then the competition on Tuesday morning for both.
Okay, and since I have the floor, I'm just going to ask one more question.
Sure.
I do have an athlete doing snowboarding, and I was wondering how the how the rentals would work for that, because he's going to have rental skis and a rental snowboard, and I know you can trade them in for free. I just need to know that there's going to be enough time to kind of switch them out.
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it because I hadn't really thought of it. I'm going to suggest you fill out 2 separate rental forms, one for the skis and one for the snowboard. And if there's any issue, I don't think there'll be a problem with that. I think you'll just have to go through and get them both.
Yeah, the way that it usually works is you just, we did over time trials is we just had them in the rental skis, and then, at a certain time, like at 2 o'clock or something, I said, okay, get out of the rental skis, go get a snowboard.
Okay.
So I basically have to get 2 lift rentals for him then for games.
Oh.
Is that what you're saying? Because
the demo's at 2 o'clock, so when the schedule's distributed, Mike, when do you anticipate the schedule being distributed?
Probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Okay. When the schedule's distributed, I would see when he's racing, his ski race, and will he have enough time to change into a snowboard?
Right, because he probably needs to get 1 run down at least, between the 2. So, yeah. Okay, I got it. We'll look at the schedule. Thanks.
Okay. I think you can move on to the next slide.
Next we have on-snow tips. So you just need to be aware of any health issues or medications that your athletes are on to make sure they have a good supply with them for the games. That the coaches, that everyone's aware. And really it's just like if we're out on the hill for skiing for a day, make sure that you have your sunscreen on, make sure you have your lip balm. Even if it's cloudy, you can still get a lot of sun, so we just need to be aware of that. And that's why also goggles are always appropriate. And last weekend we were pretty fortunate that it was warm and dry. Oftentimes that hasn't been the case for games, so we need to make sure that you have water-resistant clothing, gloves, the best you can in case they get all wet and they have to change, and clothes to stay warm. And usually you can do that by layering up. Long johns. I recommend 1 pair of socks, sweater. Just be aware of the temperature. And I know the Weather Channel isn't always accurate, but at least it's a good place to start. Diet, starting off with a good breakfast, good lunch, not too much. Maybe you want to be able to compete and feel good without being too sluggish. So maybe stay away from the fried foods until after, maybe for dinner. And drinking plenty of fluids, preferably non-caffeinated drinks, even a sport drink of some kind, but definitely drinking your fluids. And just know your athlete's needs for any special equipment or anything they have. Okay, anything to add there, George?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. Anybody have any questions? Like Kathy said, check the weather. Remember liquids. Hopefully it'll be a warm, sunny day. I'm not coming out if it's cold.
-3 up here at Deep Creek Lake tonight.
I'm sorry, what?
It's -3 tonight at Deep Creek Lake.
Wow. Okay. On to the next slide. Accident procedure. If you see anyone or you're in the area where someone gets hurt, do not move the injured person unless they're in immediate danger. We want to summon the medical team and ski patrol. And ski patrol should be on the mountain. And so we want to gather as much information as possible. First of all, take a look around, make sure you know exactly where you're located. So if you have to report that, you know where you are, the name of the trail, and where you are on the trail, the top, bottom, right, left, and anything about that person, or about their injury. Always move somebody to the side of the trail. I mean, of the other athletes to the side of the trail so they're not out in the trail. If there's anybody witnesses, always get their name and address, and then stay there until the medical team or ski patrol arrives.
Kathy, I think just to one point that I think everybody should be aware of, Winter Games is unique in a way. Normally we have volunteer medical people at a competition site. Ski Patrol will be providing all medical or be dealing with all medical issues at the Winter Games. So you can, if you need Ski Patrol, if you have an issue, you can do one of two things. You can find any management team member with a radio, and we can call for Ski Patrol, or just go to the nearest lift shack. Whether you're at the top or the bottom of the lift, go to a lift shack, ask the lift operators to call for Ski Patrol. But remember what Kathy said, emphasize you got to be able to tell them what the issue is and where the issue is. Okay?
Yeah, and if you look down number 9 there, it goes through a list of questions of things that you might want to be aware of. I'm not going to read through those, but you really just want to prepare and know as much information as possible. That's the key. And number 8 says don't volunteer any information or make statements, and that's what they always tell us when we, as instructors at Liberty, you talk to the Ski Patrol, and the Ski Patrol can make statements to anyone, but that's not up to us.
And just to add on to that, as the official spokesperson for Special Olympics Maryland is either Jim Schmutz, our CEO, or Jason Schrimmel, our VP for Public Relations. So again, as Kathy emphasized, no statements, don't volunteer information. If anybody asks for a statement, it's to Jason or to Jim to do so.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, I think the next slide says Q&A. Any questions? If you have questions, I hope we can answer them.
Hi, this is Diane from Howard. I'm a little confused about the snowboarding demo. Originally, I thought that only athletes who were not competing in Alpine or Snowshoe could do the snowboarding demo. So it's sounding like that's not the case. If we have an athlete who's a skier who might also do well at snowboarding, he can actually try.
Mike, you want to address that?
Sure.
Well, I can say something. If he has never done it before, this
Right.
is not a place to try it, because this is going to be at the top of the intermediate course where we're going to be, and if your athlete's never snowboarded before, they will start off as a beginner.
Right. Yeah, this is...
That was my question. So if somebody has never snowboarded before, is there a method by which they can get some experience before the games if they're not competing in Alpine, say?
I wouldn't say before these games. The intention for this demo is for people who are experienced at snowboarding.
Gotcha. Okay.
Totally. To kind of give
that idea. Okay.
Yeah, to give some thought. What I think was communicated, and we adjusted it, was we were looking for athletes in addition to athletes who were skiing, but that doesn't seem to be feasible in terms of the interest level, the ability to get there. So we're opening it up to athletes who are there, but it is not an instructional clinic. It is absolutely, as Kathy said, not for someone who's never snowboarded before. They need to have experience with that. We want to see if the interest is there, and then we can look at adding that into the Winter Games program for future years.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But if your athlete does snowboard, make sure they stop by the demo so they can have a look.
No, we don't have anybody who does snowboard. That's why I was asking. I thought if there was...
Yeah, but if they're interested, absolutely.
No, we don't. But we have somebody who's incredibly well balanced, and I thought this would be a good chance for him. But if he will not have an opportunity to do it beforehand, so that doesn't make sense then.
Any other questions?
This is Claire from Howard County. I have a question about medical. My son was an athlete last year, and he had a seizure on the slopes, and you know, there was no, I didn't know what was happening with them. I just saw they weren't coming down the hill for a long time, so I went up the lift, and by the time I was over top of him, he wasn't able to move, and there was no one around, and you know, the lift kept stopping. It was on the novice trail, so, and I kept trying to flag down people, the instructors, and they were just skiing right past, so I had to wait till I got to the top to tell the girl in the booth, and at that point a good at least 15 minutes had gone by. Is there a number that we can have to call for an emergency, or do we just have to wait until we get
Claire, was he at the race course? Was he waiting for the race course, or was he just on the slope and had a seizure?
He was on the slope, and it was after the races, and he was going down with a coach and another athlete, and he had a seizure. But it was at the games. It was just, there were no active races going on the novice hill at the time.
Okay. And so, I'm sorry, what was your final question? You said something about a phone number, I believe, or what was your question?
I didn't know if there was a phone number to the ski patrol, so they, if we called and said there's an emergency on this slope, if something happens and nobody is stopping, like what happened last year.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a phone number for the ski patrol. We can ask that question. I'm not sure, but possibly, Mike, we could publish a phone number to the control center.
Right. I was just going to say we'll need. We can certainly make something happen with that. At a minimum, we have at the control center we have a radio for the mountain, and we can get a number to you for to call there to, and they can alert folks. Just use it judiciously. The first approach would be to flag down somebody who's there. It sounds like it didn't work in this case, but yeah, we'll make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
And you can also usually tell a lift operator, because they have phones right with them, and they can call ski patrol.
Well, that's what I did. I didn't know he was injured until I was halfway up the lift, and the lift was stopping. So I didn't get to the top of the lift for a good couple minutes. And then finally I was able to tell her, so I had no way of sending anyone to him. And he ended up needing oxygen, so it was a bad situation. And I think that the coaches should have some kind of central number in case there is a bad situation like that where they're not able to be at the top or bottom and get anyone to help the athlete.
It is possible that there is a phone number that you could dial direct to ski patrol, but I just don't know the answer to that. So we'll check with Whitetail and find out, and we'll work something out.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Mike, will you want to wrap it up, please?
Yeah, just a big thank you to everybody for all of your work throughout the season. We're looking forward to seeing you again in about a week and a half. Look for the divisions and your both of the division numbers as well as the your schedule for your athletes. We'll provide the same time sequence package that we provided last year, I think, for Alpine for the first time, so you know the tools for that. And look for those by next week. So that's it. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.